two segments that are the same length are congruent. So another symbol for congruent is this symbol, a squiggly with an equal sign. That means congruent. Distances are equal. Segments are congruent. We don't switch them. So watch. You say that AB, there's nothing on top of it, so this means the distance between A and B. You can say the distance between A and B is equal to CD. So the distances between A and B is equal, the distance between A and B is equal to the distance between CD. That's how you read that. But you could not do the segment AB is equal to the segment CD. Segments are not equal. Segments are congruent. So if you know that the distance between AB is equal to CD from this line right here, it means that the segment AB is congruent to the segment CD. So these two are the proper, no, this is the proper way to write it. I also would not write that two distances are congruent. That's not how you write it. Nope. So the way that you write it is either the distances are equal or the segments are congruent. And each basically means similar things. In order for the segments to be congruent, the distances have to be equal. If the distances are equal, the segments are congruent. It goes back and forth. So this notation right here means the distance between x and y, because there's no bar above it. So the distance between x and y has to be -1 to -5 is 4 units. The distance between x and w is, you have +6 and -5, so the distance has to be 11. The distance between y and z, -1 to 2 is 3, and the distance between x and z is -5 to 2 is 7. So it says which excuse me, segments are congruent. So none of these numbers are congruent that we have so far, but let's see, we didn't do WY. So WY, the distance is 7. So I know that WY is congruent to XZ because they're both 7. XZ. How do I know? Because the distances are equal. Okay, the segment addition postulate says that if you have a segment with endpoints A and B, and C is between A and B, then AC, the distance, plus BC, the distance, equals AB. Okay, example 2 says if the distance between A and B is 25, so you should really mark it on their diagram. If something is not marked, but it's marked in the directions, always mark it. Find X, the distance between A and N, and the distance between N and B, and give justifications for each step. So justifications is like what we did in algebra. So I'm trying to solve for X here. So I know that this segment plus this segment equals the entire thing. So that's AN, the distance, plus NB, the distance, equals AB, the distance. And that's by the segment addition postulate, which we just did on the previous page. Okay, these are my justifications over here on the right-hand side. This is my work on the left-hand side. So I know that instead of writing AN, I can write 2x minus 6. Instead of writing NB, I can write x plus 7. And I know that AB is equal to 25. what I just did is I substituted. I substituted AN was 2x minus 6, NB was x plus 7, AB was 25. So this is called substitution. Now I'm going to use steps in algebra to solve for x. So 2x plus x is 3x. Negative 6 plus 7 is 1. So 3x equals plus 1 equals 25. And what did I do over here? What did I just do to get from here to here? I combine like terms. You can write either simplify, you can write combine like terms, or you can write addition, which means you added terms. And the next step to solve this, I subtract 1 from each side. So what step did I do? You can either say the subtraction property of equality. It's the property of equality because you're subtracting 1 from each side of the equal sign. Or you could say the addition property of equality because you're actually adding a negative 1. I don't care which one you use. It doesn't matter to me. And then, because they're both right. And then right here, I'm dividing both sides by 3. So you could use the division property of equality. It's property of equality because you're doing it on both sides of the equal sign. Or you could say multiplication because technically you're also multiplying by 1/3. But either way, it's fine. So x is 8 is my solution. But I also have to find AN and I have to find NB. So in order to do that, I need to plug in x is 8 in right here. So it's going to be 2 times 8 minus 6. 16 minus 6 is 10. So AN equals 10, which means if all the way across is 25 and this is 10, this is to be 15. Or I could plug in 8. 8 plus 7 is 15. A midpoint is the center of a segment. So if you have a segment, AB, the midpoint could be C, such that, I'm going to put these tick marks in that they're equal. AC is equal to CB by the definition of midpoint. Or if you use a congruent statement, AC, the segment, is congruent to CB, the segment, because their distances are equal. So example 3 is M is the midpoint of RT. So I'm going to already mark these markings. Find the RM distance between M and T, and distance between R and T, and give justifications for each step. So I just put these hash marks in because it's the midpoint. So I know that RM is equal to MT. Why did I just put those hash marks in there? Well, my justification is the definition of midpoint. Now I'm actually going to plug these in. So I know that 5x plus 9 has to equal 8x minus 36. How do I know that? Because I just substituted RM is 5x plus 9, MT is 8x minus 36. So I use substitution. Now I'm going to solve for x. So in order to solve for x, you want to get your x's on the same side. So I subtract x from both sides and get 9 equals 3x minus 36. So what I just used was the subtraction property of equality because I did it on each side of the equal sign. Now I'm going to add 36. So I added 36, so that is called the addition property of equality because I added to both sides. So I have 45 equals 3x. I'm running out of room. So to solve for x, I divide by 3. So that's called the division property of equality because I did it to both sides. So x equals 15. But I need to find what RM MT, and RTR. So if I plug 15 right here in, so it's 15 times 5, which is 75, plus 9. So 75 plus 9 is 84. So RM equals 84. In order for this to be midpoint, RM has to equal the MT. So that means that MT equals 84. So the whole thing, RT, has to be twice 84 plus 84. So it's got to be 168. So this is 168. So here's my answers. Okay, AX, the distance is 45. So go over to your diagram and mark it. Find Y, AQ, and QX. Give justifications. So this doesn't say anything about a midpoint. There's no hashes that say it's a midpoint. But I do know that AQ plus QX has to equal AX, the whole thing. So AQ plus QX has to equal the whole segment, which is AX, by the segment addition postulate. Now I'm going to write what AQ is. AQ is 2y plus 1. QX is y minus 1. And that equals the whole thing, which is 45. Why? What's my justification? Well, I substituted, so I write substitution. And now I finish off the algebra part. So 2y plus 1 plus y minus 1 is 3y. So what I did is I did addition. I combined like terms. It's not the addition property of equality because I'm not adding the same thing to each side. I'm just combining like terms. So you could write addition, combine like terms, or you could write simplify, and I would take any one of those three. Okay, then the next step is divide both sides by 3. So that's y equals 15, and that's called the division property of equality. So y equals 15, we got that. Now AQ is plug in 15 right here for y. So 2 times 15 plus 1 is 31. QX is 15 minus 1 is 14. These are already filled in, so I'm going to explain example 5, 6, and 7. So it says find PD, so that means the distance. If P is at -7, so I write P at -7, and D is at -1. So I put them on a number line. So the distance between here is 6. Example 6. This time you're given the distance, which is 8, and you're given -2 at A. So I wrote -2, and if I know that AB is 8, I can either go up 8 from -2, or I could go down 8 from -2. So if I go up 8 from -2, this is going to land at 6. If I go down 8 from -2, this is going to land at -10. That's why you have -10. Same thing with example 7. You know the distance between CE is 12. You know that C is at 3. So E could go up 12 or back 12 from C. So if you go 3 up to 12, you get 15. If you go down 12 from 3, you get -9. So your answer is -9 and 15.